Well, there are yellow ribbons appearing around trees in Belair, and it has nothing to do with songs. Greg Johns is president of the Grey Box Community Group. Hello, Greg.
Hello, thank you for interviewing us.
Now, Greg, I believe you are one of those who has been placing these yellow ribbons around trees. Which trees and why?
Well, we started up the Grey Box Community Group about 12 years ago now. And I guess what we set up was to preserve biodiversity in our local area and probably the Mitcham area as well. So the Indigenous biodiversity here was grey box woodland. So we've been doing that for 12 years, and we actually have a grey box day every year as well, in which we allow plants to be sold really cheaply to keep the biodiversity in the area.
And so what is putting them under threat, do you believe?
Well, this is, it's clearance again, and clearance, broadly across the area and indeed across, this is a problem right across Australia. So I think right now there's about 4% of the grey box woodland left in the area. And of course, this is incredibly important for biodiversity and also for climate change, which, I believe, and a lot of other people believe, this is, the issue of the 21st century.
Are you being listened to, Greg? I mean, I'm guessing that you're putting the yellow ribbons around there because you're not feeling like you're getting the message across.
Yeah, look, there's been the community up here, I think, has really adopted the whole grey box community idea very strongly, and Grey Box Day is incredibly well attended. And we even had a few figures back that we were certainly assisting in stopping biodiversity loss. But it's still, clearance is still going on I think it's still at an alarming sort of rate.
Let's also talk with Greg O'Grady. Greg is an administrator for the Mitcham Hills Road Network Group. You don't have to be called Greg to be part of the group, I'm guessing, Greg?
No, we accept all sorts of different people.
Good to know. Greg, you have more specific concerns about some roadworks and what impact they'll have on the trees. Can you explain what they are?
Yeah, there's been following an announcement by Nicole Flint in her successful quest, as it turned out, to get her seat of Boothby back in May 2019. She put forward a promise for a roundabout at the intersection of James Road and Old Belair Road, which to us locals in the local community there, that was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, we do know that there's been traffic issues with the increased housing deeper into the hills, but this roundabout idea sort of came about. And we thought, whoa, this is a little bit interesting, and so there's been a bit of community discussion about that. And it's been very difficult to find information. And only recently the Department of Transport and Infrastructure have actually put forward some plans on what this will look like. And very interestingly and concerningly, it's quite massive infrastructure, and it will be impacting some of the area that's been specifically set aside to be preserved. On the edge of the road reserve by Randell Park.
Do you know how many trees that might involve?
No, that's the information like that. It's a good question, and it should be an answer in one of the most frequently asked questions, I would think, on the Department of Transport's information about this project. But no, that's information that's not being shared. And
so, how can you see those two things coexisting, the roadworks that are being promised and a protection of those roadsides that you would like to hold close and dear?
Well, if you're familiar with Old Belair Road and a lot of the hills roads in the area, they are relatively narrow corridors, and the trees are pretty much right alongside the road reserve verge. So to put in infrastructure like this, I suppose they're saying, well, too bad about the fact that we'll be carving through an area that's actually been recognised as a Bush for Life site, supported by the National Heritage Trust as well. It's a bit of a case of too bad, it seems.
And so what would you like to see happen from here? Obviously, you're trying to garner support from and attention with these yellow ribbons. How can people who are concerned address that? And do you think there's much chance of seeing it changed?
Well, it's hard to know unless the voices are heard. You never know whether you can achieve better results and some change. The yellow ribbons are all about bringing a bit more attention to the plight of the grey box woodland. When I came to Belair almost 8 years ago, I had no idea what a grey box was. A neighbour of mine said to me when I was doing some pruning on one of the verge trees, some overhanging limbs, he says, "Don't cut that down, that's a grey box. If you cutting down a grey box is like shooting a koala, you just don't do it." But, oh, okay. There's a little bit of learning for me. But yeah, it's important. I've moved up to the Adelaide Hills and to Belair in particular to be amongst the beautiful nature that we have. To go ahead with projects like this that appear to have been just an election promise that's been followed through without really looking at the other considerations and looking at the impact is concerning.
Do you have much hope that it can be changed? I mean, we've seen the potential for buildings to move with roadworks that are deemed to be necessary, and is that just something that has to be sacrificed in the name of progress?
Yeah, people do make the mention of it's all about progress. One of the concerns is, and as I say, there's been a bit of discussion amongst the community about this since that 2019 announcement, and there's other solutions that are available that are much less imposing, and it doesn't. There was a community consultation done around this particular area back over a year ago, January, February 2020, and despite repeated requests, there hasn't been really any answers any results of that community consultation given, and it seems to be kept secret. We're kind of asking why that's the case, and where did the actual roundabouts idea come from in the first place? Department of Transport haven't been forthcoming with that information. So why is that the best option?
Well, I will mention that we did put in a request to speak with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport today, saying we were talking about this issue with you, and unfortunately they were unavailable to join us today. It was relatively short notice, so that's completely understandable, but more than happy to speak with the department about their reasonings behind that, if they're willing to make someone available. Thank you to Greg O'Grady from the Mitcham Hills Road Network Group, and also Greg Johns, President of the Grey Box Community Group. On the text line, someone says grey box are endemic to the southeast of Australia. I think they need to get out more, says this one chance. Another texter says, "Oh my God, no chance in saving those trees. The intersection is more important." And if you want to add your views to that, 1300 222 891 or text through on 0467 922 891.